Okay, friends, welcome back here. We're going to be greasing up a Wilson F2000. As I try to center this camera, ill-prepared yet again. Standard procedure on this channel. So, some housekeeping first. What I've been doing, I've been busy. A lot of you guys have gotten balls from me in the last little while. I appreciate the business, appreciate the support, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback on the process. So I'm not changing much. Same stuff as always, leather honey, mink oil, a good brush. This one's already been brushed, as you can see. And a little love and care, right? TLC, take your time with the process. I've gotten a lot of messages in the last, especially 3 weeks. I think as you guys are probably getting ready for your seasons to start or finishing with summer camps or whatever, about balls you tried to do with the process on the channel that didn't turn out that great. I'll just say it for the video, to try and answer that question or try and address those concerns all in one go. The two things I hear all the time are I'm getting a film on the ball and the ball's not changing color. This is like there's only so much I can do from a distance, and while I don't want everyone who doesn't want to pay or can't afford it to send me their ball, I want to give you a process that I think is repeatable and works. I also need you to be aware that like the mud in your backyard might not be like the mud in my backyard. That's number one. But even if it's not, like I say on the channel all the time, the key is patience. I think that you get a slick ball when you don't let one step complete before you go to the next step. So tonight, for example, we're going to do the leather honey, and it's going to sit until tomorrow night. I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to come back to it tomorrow during the day and try and mud it or mud apart or whatever. I'm going to let it dry completely. And the reason you do that is because if you don't, the consequences are, fairly severe. You're going to have problems with, mud getting mixed in with the conditioner, for example. You're going to have problems with the conditioner not being perfectly dry and then it being difficult to work with afterwards, et cetera, et cetera. Like I'm kind of rambling here, but the point I'm trying to make is that if you don't let one step finish, the next step won't work. And then once you go down that road, there's too much overlap and you got a problem. I don't know how to fix that if you have that problem. So, while I appreciate you guys trying out the process, just be aware of that. The second thing I would say is leather honey is a thick conditioner. And so if it's not dry after 24 hours, don't go after it after 24 hours, If it's not dry after 36 hours, put it in the heat or something to try and accelerate that process or finish it for you. But I don't rush things. And I don't want you guys to rush them either because it just doesn't work. And you don't want to do this in a way that's not repeatable and doesn't work. So anyway, this is a F2000. Maybe we can talk about the ball a bit since I haven't done a proper review on this ball in a long time. This is the new version. So this one has the stitched on stripes like I mentioned in the reel and YouTube short or whatever associated with this ball. Same silhouette. It's very narrow, pretty easy to grip. And has obviously the U Sports plus the new standard Wilson branding there. You can get an OUA ball that has a different sort of stamp on the front, I think, or on the side. I forget exactly where, but this ball is really nice, and this is the new standard university ball here in Canada. I expect this will become the CFL ball as well in time. So if you like the ball without the stitch stripe, start buying them. I wish I had more than just two F2000s, I'll tell you that, because those old ones are really nice too. I like this one. I picked this one out for a fella on Instagram at Litson's in Waterdown. These balls are $200 now. They used to be $170. Now they're $200. So keep that in mind. And I have found that more often than not, these balls have an issue with laces coming off very easily and being sort of flat with the leather as opposed to on top of the vertical portion of the lace, which I hate. But as a guy who plays quarterback, I shoot for balls that if they don't have a great nub, this one has an okay nub, it at least has laces tight enough that they won't slide off and stay off. So that's what I went with here. Again, this is the red leather from Wilson. Some good, some bad. I've done one of these balls before that had one panel that didn't change color as much as I wanted it to, but it didn't matter. The ball still felt great, and I have that ball in the closet. It works really well. So let's get started. As always, we will glove up. Boys, let me tell you, in this economy, you should be wearing a glove anytime you're lubing something up, because if you don't, okay, you will find yourself in a world of economic hurt. Little advice from me to you. I think I told you guys that I tore my ACL, and I made one ACL video. I probably won't make any more because I just don't have time, but I've been squatting 300 again, deadlifting 400, trying to stay on top of it. I have an appointment with my surgeon tomorrow, so hopefully go from injury to under the knife in, I don't know, 6 weeks, 8 weeks would be good. Still a little swelling. I think his swelling has to go down a bit more before I can be operated on, but all in all, pretty happy with all the results so far. I went to Buffalo for the MRI. Guys, I gotta tell you, I can't recommend this enough because it saves you so much time in the process. The process related to getting on a list for surgery. Now, I also pulled some strings. I won't say how, but to me, it's like, it brings up an interesting debate here in Ontario about two-tier healthcare. You guys know I run a Bitcoin podcast as well. You know, and over the course of a few years, you know, we've amassed, I don't know, a couple million downloads, had some really good guests, like, you know, politicians and business people and people who are, you know, pro-Bitcoin, anti-Bitcoin, everybody from like Stockwell Day, former conservative leader, to Doomberg, you know, if you know sort of the economic side of things on YouTube. And everyone has a different take on Canadian healthcare. I'm just going to tape up the white laces. Everyone has a different take on Canadian healthcare and whether or not the country should embrace or allow or whatever a two-tier system where if you have the means, you can pay for certain things. I got to tell you, okay, Bitcoin has afforded me a number of opportunities over the years. And, you know, I think that after going to Buffalo for an MRI, I feel confident in saying that if you are a Canadian and think that Canada doesn't have a two-tier healthcare system already, it's because you're on the bottom tier. Now, that may sound harsh, but I do think it's the reality. And it sucks because, you know, if I had an opportunity, I would pay for all sorts of stuff. I'd maybe pay for the surgery, certainly pay for other imaging, and not cram up the line for people who are, you know, older than me, maybe don't have as much earning power as I do. Or another big thing that people don't consider is time, right? Like, I'm fortunate to have a job where if I want to take some time off for medical imaging, it's really not that big a deal, but not everyone's in that boat. And so why would you let me jam up the line when I'm happy to pay, I think it was like $800 to go to Buffalo and get, you know, same day results just a few days after the injury. I couldn't even walk when I went to Buffalo. I was like limping around. And it's hard for me to understand why anyone in their right mind, even if you thought Canadian healthcare was the golden goose, why would you not support people doing the same thing to lighten the burden on an already overburdened healthcare system? I don't know why you wouldn't, to be honest with you. But anyway, so I've had an ACL injury before on my other knee back when I was, I don't know, man, 23, 24, something like that. Really young. At least it feels like it was really young now. This is how I tape, by the way. I just do a rough job here just because it's hard to get some of this stuff off the ball later. Anyway, so I had that ACL injury before, and I ended up getting a patella graft from the same knee that the injury was on, my left knee, so my launch knee, you would call it since I'm right-handed. And that injury, I think the surgery was, like, to call it a success would be an understatement, honestly. I never had a problem with that knee again. I think I wore a brace playing for, I don't know, 3 months maybe. I went back to play in about 6 months, 5 or 6 months, and never looked back. And so I was frustrated when this happened because, you know, for the old dogs in the chat and who watch the channel, it was a cut that I probably would have made at 25 and should not have been making at 37, but tried anyway. And like I said in that ACL video, my knee was in my line of sight. My foot was far enough out in front of me and far enough to the side of me that I actually not only felt my knee pop and heard it pop, loud crack. I didn't hear the first time, but this time I definitely heard it. I also saw it buckle, so that was something new. New experiences, everybody. Very important for personal growth and development. Anyway, and then it's funny too, obviously my wife, her main concern, as it should be, is, you know, how are you going to help with the little one with a bum knee? And I said, I don't know. Turns out it wasn't that bad. I have to host the Canadian Bitcoin conference in Montreal in October. And so I anticipate that if I get operated on in September, I'll be ready to go by October. To give you an idea of what I'm expecting the recovery to look like. They actually make now what they call a secondary incision in the injured leg to do something called an LET procedure, which is like a lateral tendinopathy, tendon something. And what it does is utilize the area near your IT band for another tissue graft, and they add like a pivot protection limiter sort of thing to your joint so that you don't stress that ACL. Pretty common in people with really good flexibility and people who return to high impact pivot torque sports. Football, obviously a good example of that. So I might get that done. We'll see. The doctor doing the surgery is a guy named Darren Dessa, and I will be, like I said, meeting with him tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that and getting his opinion on things and hearing what his expert take is on the latest in ACL reconstruction. Try and move this closer to the camera. I know sometimes I kind of start doing these videos and then I forget the camera's there. I'm just talking and no one can see anything because I'm like right in the middle of the shot. But so yeah, I wanted to make videos when I first started doing this channel. I thought anytime I get a ball, I'll make a video. And once I started doing the break-ins, and you guys started coming from all over the place to get the break-ins done, which is amazing. I realized I just didn't have time to make and edit all the videos. And I actually have like a closet full of like balls and supplies now. That is probably annoying my wife, but to be honest with you, she's been very good about this whole thing. And why not? It's a fun hobby for me. Make a couple extra bucks and just hang out in the basement, you know? But anyway, yeah, the ACL thing, going to be interesting. It's a lot different now than it was years ago. When I first had mine done, the common practice, the sort of common thinking was casting the patient for, I think I was in my cast locked with my legs straight for 3 days, 72 hours, something like that. And the reason is because it's really hard to get that full flexion back on the knee. So they lock you in that position and make sure that you sort of have that, and you're like pumping your foot and stuff and doing straight leg raises for that first 72 hours. You can't really do much. Then they cut the cast off and put you on some crutches and off you go. Now, my understanding is they lock you in a DonJoy brace, which I have. I already picked one up, DonJoy Defiance. And you just walk right after the surgery. You go to weight bearing right away, which is wild because that is a very invasive procedure. Like they're in the joint. They're doing a lot of work inside your joint, which obviously could be difficult to recover from with any speed. I mean, you're not supposed to play sports for, what is the number? 9 months now, I think, is the standard for collegiate athletes. They try and hold out 9 months. I watched a great interview with the Stony Brook University doctor, this woman, Kristen, I can't remember her name, but she said a lot of things I just didn't know about ACL recovery and, the bracing and stuff afterwards. I knew that they braced athletes after. I didn't realize that a lot of universities have this bracing policy where if you hurt your ACL, you have to wear a brace for 1 full season after the surgery. And if you're a offensive lineman at Stony Brook, you have to wear the brace on both knees as a preventative measure. And if you're a quarterback at Stony Brook, you have to wear the brace on your plant leg, your lead leg, as a preventative measure as well. So you see these guys on Saturday afternoons. College football starting soon, by the way. So you see them on Saturday afternoons, and some of them are heavily braced up. The quarterbacks are all wearing these braces. Linemen are all wearing these braces. And you're like, do all these guys have knee injuries that they all need braces? And it's not just Stony Brook that does this. Like every school does it now. And so you're like, these guys all really need this much support or like injury prevention or whatever? The answer is yes. And I think the reason they do it is because unlike in the NFL, those guys have 3 years if they're a top tier athlete and 4 if they're not. And so the idea that you would lose basically 2 years, right? If you get hurt in the middle of a season, the likelihood you're going to play in the next season at a contributing level is fairly low. So I think what these guys want to do is make sure that they're preventing their athletes from getting hurt. Universities, especially in the name and likeness era of college sports, are invested in their guys and gals in a way that they never have been before. And so protecting that asset is critical to the mission. So here you go. Lubed up. God, that gold looks nice. So we're going to leave this to dry, like I said, overnight, maybe a little longer since I went heavy on the cream here. And we'll come back tomorrow for a little mud. See you guys then. Okay, spiral throwers, we're back here on night 2. I was going to tape these stripes and then start the video, but some of you guys have been messaging me, asking me, like I said earlier in the video, about how you know a ball is ready for the next step. And this is kind of an interesting case because I went heavy on the leather honey yesterday, and probably heavier than any of you guys would go or should go, just kind of knowing that especially these red leather balls they don't accept the conditioner quite as easy as the brown leather ones, like the GST you might often see, for example. I don't know why that is. Could be the dye on the leather, the treatment's a bit of a different color or whatever. But I did go heavy, as you guys saw. And I picked this ball up about 20 minutes ago to give it once over with the brush, as the process calls for. And I thought to myself, how am I evaluating whether this ball is ready for the next step? And to be honest with you, I don't know that I really have a good answer. It's a little bit by feel, but I think there's one thing I would say, and I'll show you in a second, as far as like a visual cue to go to the next step. And it's how much of a mark your finger leaves on the panels when you drag it across. And it's not that you're not going to leave a mark, you will. If you take any of your balls, especially one that's recently been waxed or conditioned, no matter how dry it is, no matter how good it feels, you'll leave a bit of a mark on the ball. It's just, everyone's got oil on their fingers and thumbs and whatnot. And so to think that you're not going to leave any mark on the ball, I think is wrong. But you can leave a little bit. So I'll try and get a good view here. Here's the panel where the conditioner is the heaviest. And so you can see when I wipe my thumb, you're not really getting a great deal of number one, slickness, but you're only leaving a bit of a mark. And if I go panel to panel, it's sort of similar across all the panels. And I'll just get a ball that I have in the closet here. This is the F2000 I did for myself, and this one's obviously very dark except for one panel. We'll see how this other one turns out. But when I do this on this ball, you get a bit of a mark there too. So don't worry about that too much. What you're thinking about is feel. And when I look at the F2000 that I'm doing now, the feel is really nice. It's soft. It's just a bit tacky, and like always, there's no better test than the grip test. So you can see I'm squeezing pretty good there. That ball's not coming out. If I go to the panel that's heavy on the conditioner, okay, that ball's not coming out. I can't shake that. That's not the normal veininess, and you can see the tension in my fingers there. That ball's ready. So let's make some mud, and we'll do our usual conditioning dance. I conditioning dance, mudding dance here. I will note that it is raining right now. So I went out to get some mud because my usual stash has run dry. To be honest with you, I haven't restocked my little bucket in a while. And when I went out to get some mud, it was kind of hard to strain it because the wet dirt doesn't love going through the strainer. So it took me a little longer than it normally would. But as always, we'll check the consistency. Rather dark, right? Kind of see it, kind of not see it. It's hard with the light, obviously, but you get an idea there what you're working with. As always, we add a bit of water from, frankly, a rather underutilized Moscow Mule mug. Give it a stir, right? Try and get this to a texture we like. This is still a bit thick, so we'll go a little more water. And then obviously we finish with the leather conditioner, which is the key step to this whole thing. So we're just gonna stir it up here, give it a chance to absorb some of that water. And actually, yet again here, I feel like I've gone too heavy on the water, but that's okay. The more I do this, the more I realize that it's much more a forgiving process than you think, so long as you're patient with the finish and patient with the process, which, like I said in the earlier part of the video, is really the key thing. And you know, like I know for me, I have like a little bit of dirt on the side of this thing, so if I ever find myself, you know, begging for a little more dirt, I just pull it off the side. Easy clean. And so there you go. Now it's a little thicker. It's absorbed some of that water, so we'll move this cup out of the way. And as always, we'll come in with the Lexol. This is Lexol 2, leather conditioner, easy to find, cheap on Amazon. I just like to put a little bit in there. It thickens up the mixture a bit, and that leather conditioner honestly does make a difference in the way that the mud takes to the ball. So you notice I didn't tape the laces, but I did tape the stripes. The laces are pretty easy to clean if you want to clean them, but the stripes are such a pain. And when I ship the balls out, I do try and get the laces as clean as possible, but I always tell guys, look, like those laces, I will do my best, but they are a hassle, man. So, or sorry, the stripes, I'll do my best, but they're a hassle. And so what I started doing is just taping them every time. You guys who have gotten balls from me know that, and you seem to appreciate it, which tells me everything I need to know. So now, like usual, I'm gonna come to this side, I think, since this might be a bit of a better angle, or will it be? I don't know, it's hard to tell with the phone, but we'll get to mud in here. So like I said, this ball's been brushed already, and all we did was take it over the leather panels, I don't know, maybe like a couple minutes. You don't need much. Just want to make sure that you're not pushing around any conditioner and that you like the feel of the ball. And you know, like my man Gio says, it's important, I think, to really focus on one panel at a time when you're doing this. And the reason for that, try and bring this closer so you can see, the reason for that is because otherwise you'll miss little parts and you'll find yourself having to go back, and it's just annoying, to be honest with you, more than anything. Better to just take it slow, do it well. You got a thin layer of mud here. Rub it in circles. You know, it's funny, people often tell me that when they're doing balls with this process, they find the color doesn't take, and I tell them the same thing all the time. Color's not the most important thing, but if you really want the color to take, rubbing it in circles instead of just straight up and down or straight side to side is important, because the leather, the grain is hard to read because of the dimpling, so you want to make sure that you're getting in all the crevices. Yeah, I know this guy's online, they say to avoid the holes. I don't necessarily avoid them totally, but it doesn't hurt, especially if you want to keep those laces clean. So there's one panel done. That's great coverage there. Maybe put a little dab on the side. Okay, good. I'm a little disappointed they raised the price on this ball, to be honest, because this is a nice ball, and obviously the tariffs are playing a role in that, and this is not a political program channel, but it's frustrating to see. And here in Canada, there's been really no move on any of the stuff that our current government wanted to you know, really drive home during the campaign. Here I am paying another $20 for a football. Even footballs are affected by the political whims of the day, unfortunately. So I went to see my ACL surgeon today, and be having that surgery in a few weeks. Looks like a clean tear on the MRI, which is rare, honestly, but very good for me. Gonna make the recovery a lot easier. And I plan on going back to playing in, I don't know, 5 months probably. I think it took me about 5 months last time, but I was like 23. Obviously, at 37, it may take just a tad longer, but it's more about your rehab process than your age, I think. You know, a lot of you guys, if you're my age, you realize probably in your mid-30s that you don't age in a straight line. You know, you're going to feel about the same at 37 as you do at like 27, at least I do. And I don't want to change that. So I'm hoping that that translates to the rehabilitation process I'm about to undertake here, since it will be a bit of a grind. You know, it's going to be a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of focused effort, and it'll take probably some attention away from my weight training, usual weight training anyway, some attention away from the Bitcoin show and a bunch of other stuff that you know, I've sort of now built into a very tight schedule that I keep, including breaking in footballs for you guys. And for myself, of course. It's a hobby, and you know, a couple bucks in the bank doesn't hurt. So I don't avoid the air stem thing, like I always say. You can, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. I always try to mention, or intend on mentioning when I make these videos, that the ball I got from Grip and Rip, Caleb, who does work for the Browns and the Steelers and the Rough Riders up here in Canada, the ball he sent me has a pebble in the bladder. I can hear it. So I'm not alone in not avoiding that, for sure. So that's pretty good. Got all 4 panels there. We just take a quick look, right? What's the coverage like? Pretty much 100%. I don't see any obvious glaring issues there. I might run the laces one more time just to make sure I catch an even gap on both sides. But you know, broadly, this is about as good as you're going to see. We can just do this here. Hopefully you guys can't hear the podcast playing in the background. Just a couple of Bitcoin shows here I got going on. Okay, pretty good there. Maybe I'll take another pass at it before we finish. But now we're going to do the top. My apologies, because I need to use my right hand for this. It is my dominant hand, and it's easier to get this top part. The mud, by the way, another cue you could use when you're thinking about whether you're making the mud properly is, does it smell just a little bit like sort of leather conditioner? And it should smell a little bit like leather conditioner, but as I've said before, I think the big thing is that you get this mud from a place where there's like tree life, plant life, not just grass. Because I do think the biological matter in the soil helps wear down the leather, helps break in the leather, soften it, all that stuff. I don't know the science behind that, but you can imagine that, you know, there's a lot of decomposition going on in that mud. If you get something like the mud at the riverbed that I think Lena Blackburn says they have, or one of these guys says they have, Red River mud or whatever it is, you know, part of it is going to be that biological matter. And it's important that you have something. You know, you don't have to have like dinosaur fossils and dino dust in your mud, but it doesn't hurt to have, you know, a number of dead plants, you know, potentially older dead animals that have since decomposed and are no longer visible, obviously. But I think that is part of the sort of magic sauce for the mud. So the smell should be, you know, it should kind of smell like the leather conditioner, plus maybe, I don't want to call it a chemical smell, but something like that. Shouldn't just smell like dirt that's on your hands after, you know, gardening or whatever. You want something a little bit more intense than that. Oh, a little stone there. So this ball is going to turn out really well, I think. But as I said, the red leather seems to be hit and miss when it comes to like identical darkness and identical take to the conditioner and the mud process and all that stuff. But we'll see. The mink oil step that I added recently well, recently, it's been a few months now, but recently to my process, and I've done it for you guys a few times since then. Obviously, every ball that I've had over the last month or two, I've done a little mink oil coat at the end. It does darken the ball. It's not really there for the darkening, it's there for the softening, and it does soften it like crazy. It feels great. But it's really the softening that counts, and it just happens to also add a bit of darkness, which you guys seem to like. Every ball I send out, or if you guys come pick it up at my house, everyone always says, "Wow, man, it's so dark, it's so soft." And I don't break in for color, I break in for feel, and I think you guys should be more worried about that than the color of the ball, personally. So we'll just take another pass here at some of the parts I think we may have missed. That's pretty good. I don't worry too much about the seams. I don't avoid them, but it doesn't hurt to kind of have a focus on certain parts. Especially if you've done this before, like I know where I miss most of the time, and it's this sort of under the tape area, and I can see here that there's a few light coverage bits. Want to make sure you get the tip. Pause. Easy. Okay. So get another look at this ball. Great coverage. The ball's very dark, obviously, because of the mud. So you got a little bit of a miss there by the tape. I'm running out of dirt, or running out of mud, but I have enough to get that. Again, like I'm a bit of a, autist perfectionist on this front, but you don't have to be if you're doing this at home. You get like that spot that I just did that was already mudded but not equally coated. That's going to be more cosmetic than feel. Once the mud has already been through there, you're going to find that you get a good feel on it. So I'm just going to take the other side here. Again, I know my weak spots by the stripe, by the tape. Just make sure you get something in there anyway. There you go. Okay. So you got a mudded ball. Easy. Put it on a towel, let it dry. See you tomorrow. All right, we're back. I just did the brushing on this ball. Looks pretty good. Pretty good color. Like always, this panel, for whatever reason, on these F2000s doesn't seem to love the color change, but ultimately it's not going to matter because the ball's going to feel great and it's going to be pretty dark as well. So I'm just going to get a pair of gloves on. That brushing took me probably, 10 minutes maybe. And I recommend that you spend 10 minutes brushing the ball as well, minimum, because you don't want to end up using the conditioning step that's coming now to take dirt off the ball. This is really just to get in the crevices and stuff. So you notice I'm not going to untape the stripes. The stripes are a composite material, they're not leather. I didn't know that until a little while ago, but it means basically that you don't want to have the conditioner on there too much if you can avoid it, mostly because it's not going to soak in and it's going to be annoying to get off or kind of deal with in the meantime, so avoid that. The laces I think I will tape actually, just because they are also difficult to deal with once there's conditioner on them. That's not a long enough piece of tape. Is this a long enough piece of tape? It's too long, but we'll go with it. Something like that. Just tear that off at the end and maybe clamp it. Just clamp it down, boys. Just clamp it down. Nothing to it. Yeah, you don't want to get the conditioner is it's good conditioner, right? Like Lexol's pretty, I don't want to say industry standard, but it's something that a lot of people use for a lot of different things. And so my recommendation is that you try and avoid getting it on places where you don't want softer leather or softer material, because that is, after all, what it's for, and that is the result that it will give you. So we're going to put a little on the rag here, nothing crazy. Damp it in. I used to care a lot more about, not losing color on these balls, but I really don't at all now. These feel so good to play with using the method that I use. So I think the most important thing is just getting the dust off and making sure that that really mud process is done right. So you can see there, rag's a little dirty. No big deal, man. Keep brushing. Get the particles you missed off the ball. You take a little bit of that color off, so be it. It's not going to be a huge deal, mostly because, like I said, the feel will overcome anyone's predispositions about what color these balls are supposed to be after mudding. This is a process that is about feel, not about color, as I've said many times on the channel, but bears repeating, honestly. So we're gonna get this done. These red leather balls, like I said, they sometimes don't take to the mud as well, color wise, but man, do they feel good when you're done with them. And one of you guys asked me in the comments on YouTube whether or not I like the red GSTs or brown GSTs. I personally don't mind the red GSTs for shape, but the comment was asking if I noticed that there's like an issue with the size of the balls. I have not noticed that, no. Every GST that I get feels about the same. I don't really think there's not too much of a variation in the shape of those balls, but I will say that I think ball to ball, you are going to get differences in like drop angle off the laces from time to time, or you'll get differences in the gap between the laces and the stripe from time to time. Nothing significant, but again, like, you know, if you're watching this channel, you might play quarterback. That gap becomes significant pretty quickly when you're taking a snap. So, you know, like what I always do when I go to Litson's, and what I recommend you guys do too, honestly, if you go there or anywhere else with a proper physical sort of brick and mortar storefront, if you know you want to buy a GST, ask to see a few GSTs. They don't just have one, you know. Ask to see a few, pick one you like. That's what I did with this ball. I picked one where the laces, you know, like I said before, felt a certain way, looked a certain way, and I know they'll play a certain way. And so, you know, you guys can do that too. These places understand that every ball is a bit different. You know, they sell footballs after all, and I'm sure in their back rooms and in their, you know, team meetings and all this other stuff, they understand that those balls all feel a little different from each other, which I'm sure they're expecting to hear comments about. So there's the color-ish of the ball. I'm gonna take this off. This turned out to be a waste of time. That's the color-ish of the ball. So you can see there, pretty dark. And I'm gonna take one more pass with the conditioner just to make sure I get all the mud grit off, but this is really, really nice. Can't beat that, man. A well done ball. Looks good, feels good, and probably most importantly, will play good as well. You don't want to have a ball that you can't hold well, or that you feel like you're kind of not getting a good grip on or whatever. And part of the process, at least for me, is making sure that you're doing the best you can. Some of you guys say that, you know, the ball feels heavier after you mud. It might, but this step really does help with that. You know, getting off all the little grits that your brush leaves behind, and your brush will leave some behind. Unless you're using like a lathe or something, your brush will leave some behind. So what you want to do is make sure you're doing this step. So there you go. I love the color of these balls, man. That like midnight purple almost, tough to beat. It's tough to beat. So there you go. We'll let that dry for a bit, and then we'll give it a brush, come back, do some mink oil. I'll record that step too, and we'll go from there. Okay, amigos, we are back. Let's finish this ball. So we got the usual components here, some mink oil, brush, and oh, I gotta get the tack bar and another brush to brush that in. Don't mind me here. I'm sure the mic will still pick up my voice all the way over here. Okay. I actually have a brand new tack bar I haven't used yet, but I don't really want to open it. Don't need to yet. Okay, so first I'll have a look at the ball here, see how we did. I mean, I know how we did. We did very well. This ball is nice and dark. It's very soft, and you can feel it's like, well, you can't feel. I can feel. It's like pretty sticky, which is good. It's what you want. Not bad, not bad. Those back end stripes are growing on me there for the full stitch F2000. Okay, so we're gonna do the tack bar as always. This is what my tack bar looks like. It is pretty beat up. It doesn't matter, okay? I'm gonna give a couple of good strokes here. Make sure that you catch all the spots. I wouldn't worry too much about you know, using too much or whatever. I mean, everyone has a different preference on this, but you really don't need to worry too much about it. This is fairly straightforward. You know what I'm going to do though? I'm going to turn off, I have an MKBHD video playing for the new Pixels. You can probably hear it. I'll turn it down since it's kind of loud. It's almost time for wife and I to get some new devices, so always looking, man. I got a 15 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro, and I came from a 13 Pro Max. Man, the bigger battery really is nice. I'll say that. I like the smaller size in my pocket, but the bigger battery is a nice convenience. So we got the tack bar on there. We're just gonna, as always, brush it in real nice here. So, you know, the parts of the video that you guys saw last where I was doing the conditioner wipe just to get the dust off after brushing the mud in, that was like 12 hours ago, okay? So like I always say, take your time, you get a better result, and you don't really have to worry as much about overlapping process parts and overlapping mud and wax and this and that. Like you don't have to worry about that. So I like to just brush it in here. I'll do one panel at a time. Yeah, man, that is nice. That feels great. That feels great. The guy who I got this for, I messaged him this morning. I told him, I'm like, this ball is banging. All the balls I do turn out pretty good now, obviously, but this one in particular is like really nice feeling. Really nice feeling, and also I really do like the way the laces make the ball feel in my hand. We're all chasing the dragon, you know. We're all chasing the how the ball feels in our hand on the snap. I'm surprised this ball hasn't caught on more yet, and it seems to me like, given that it's become the OUA official ball, the university ball here in Canada for my American viewers, that it hasn't caught on more, but it looks like it's being forced now. So like I said earlier in the video, I expect to see this become the official ball of the CFL pretty soon. I have it on good information that there was an attempt to do this, I think 3 years ago, with a few of the teams, and basically all the teams said they didn't like it. So make of that what you will. It feels to me like you'd almost prefer to have a ball you could throw off the laces, and so the stripe maybe helps with that, although I'm not sure pro quarterbacks need that much guidance. Like I've said before, I think even having played quarterback now for like 3 years, like I don't even really think I need the guidance, but it is nice sometimes, you know, if you want to make a quick throw on the goal line or whatever, you don't have time to get to the laces, or it's like a real tough timing route, then maybe you would do something with the back stitch stripe instead of worrying about finding the lace. So you can see here how the wax like scores the ball a little bit. I've gotten a few comments and DMs about how people are worried, and I think I've said this in the video before, they're worried that it's like dirtying the tack bar, but the tack bar, you know, it's going to get dirty. Like, what do you think happens when you use it on a ball that's been played with? You think it, it just stays perfect all the time? Like, I think people think that part of this process, the break-in process, is like the ball cannot be shedding any color, any mud or whatever. Like, I really disagree with that. And obviously I play with a ball that I've broken in, and you know, it's not giving me any issues. I doubt very much it's ever given anybody any issues, to be honest with you. And part of me thinks, to be honest, One of the reasons that sort of these huge, send me a ball and it's 100 US to do a break-in, there's 3 stages of break-in, gridiron football prep. One of the reasons they've been so successful is because people are afraid that they'll make a mistake in the process and, oh, my ball's not perfectly black, or it's not perfectly clean, or it's not like, man, it's a football, okay? I've said before, it's a retail product. It's a mom and dad buy for their kids product. It's a high school football team buys for their team product. It's meant to be dirty. It's meant to be imperfect, and it's meant to be forgiving. So don't worry too much. So we're gonna brush this in. Now, unlike the other steps where I say you have to wait and take it easy and don't rush and blah blah blah, when you're done with the tack bar here, I'm just gonna speed up a little bit for the sake of you guys. When you're done with the tack bar, you don't have to wait for the next step. I'll show you what I do. I'm just brushing in with a horsehair brush. Again, the reason I do this is because it gives a more even finish. You want that wax all over the leather and in the ball a little bit, and the horsehair brush will heat up the leather. So grip test. Oh, nice, man. It feels good. That feels really good. That ball is sharp. We're gonna take the Wilson brush to it now. Again, this is a clean one, right? Don't use the one you use for mud. Just give it a once over. I'm trying to keep the tape on as well. Nothing wild, as I always say. Brush in circles, brush up and down, brush wherever, but make sure you're getting good coverage. Guess we gotta do these tips too, don't we? Don't want to forget those. So I'll hit these here. Okay. I think you guys can still see in the camera. Yeah. This is not the best camera setup I've ever had, I'll be honest, but things are busy here, man. I got a little baby and I got an ACL surgery now I got to prepare this basement for on Monday. That'll be fun. I haven't done a ACL surgery in 15 years. I mean, you don't really want to do a second one, right? But at least it's the other knee. That's important. And because the gap between the 2 injuries was so long, no one really seems to be worried about further issues. Just a reckless cut, boys. Just a reckless cut. What can I say? Okay, so I'll just hit the tips here again. I can't remember if I did this panel already, but just for the sake of completeness. All right, so done that. Let's just get our tape back down here a little bit, at least try to. So we got a waxed ball now. This ball, you could throw at this right now, but I like it to be a little softer. So as you know, what I do is just take a bit of mink oil. This has like some brush hair in it already. I take a different brush than the one I used for the tack bar and just quick dab. Not much to it. Maybe do 2 panels per dab, I don't know. Whatever feels right, you know. There's no exact science to any of this, but the goal is to just really sort of, I don't say bake in, that's the wrong term, but finish the wax you put on. Right? Just like this, try and keep the camera in a place where you can see it. And like I said before, this will make the ball feel a tiny bit slick, but as it settles, the process will reveal itself to you. This is not quite an exact science, but we feel pretty good here about the nature of the outcomes and outgoing product that we're sending around. So I'll just hit the tips here. Yeah, Yeah, see, it actually doesn't even make it that slick. I've really gotten good at this, I have to say. It's getting to be a lot of fun finishing these balls. Okay. So, like I always say, once you've got all that on there, you can brush it in. Try to avoid the laces. Not the end of the world if you hit them. It's just a little more work on the back end, cleaning it, because you don't want the mink oil on the laces necessarily. And then once that's dry, my friends, you are done. So let's there you go. F2000, done and done. This one's heading to Quebec tomorrow. So hope you enjoyed the video as always, boys. We'll see you next time.